Tzu Chi forum and in Taipei yesterday, and that was I think was a pretty successful event. So I'm still in Taipei, and I'm here recording for Dai TV, so I'm delaying my return back to Hualien by 1 day. I understand that Brother Baolu is still not available, but let me just quickly go through this. Even though it's all in Chinese, I'll definitely do the best I can to do translation. This was what I've done last week. Monday. I do the sharing every Monday for about 15 minutes to our colleagues in the foundation, as well as to Dharma Masters and Master Cheng when she's available. And I'm very grateful because Master always gives me a response on what I've said and how I could have gotten better. And so I'm very grateful for all of that. Let's just quickly go through the content. So this first part, it talks about the three vehicles. I think we've talked about the three vehicles a lot. Basically about the three vehicles, why they're different and how they're different. So let me go through that quickly. Let me go through that right now. So we're talking about, this is talking about the Amazon fire. So this is the Dharma talk on September 10th. The Master talks about, these are all talked about by Master. Okay, so Master talks about the Amazon fire. And let me quickly do the translation here. So the Amazon rainforest, normally when the rain comes down, the rainforest conserves the water, preserves the water. So each drop of the water can be absorbed by the tree's leaves, the stems, the bark, the tree, the trunk, and the roots. And what it does is that it holds on to the ground. If there's no rain, then the ground itself contains the water, and the water can actually be contained underground, just like an aquifer or a dam in the ground. They can be able to hold the water. So for many days, Master talks about this Amazon rainforest fire, telling us not to telling us to remember that we do need to be vigilant, stay vigilant. And so with alarming events, this is not just about talking the burning of the forest, that it's going to have a far more everlasting effect, because now the rainforest is supposed to absorb the water. Now, if with all these rainforests burned, it's actually going to have a longer lasting effect to the human beings than we realize just about losing the rainforest. So this is what Master was talking about. And I thought it was something that was important. The reason why I thought it was important is because, so back on the 10th, this is what Master talks about, that we have to understand the meaning behind the sutra, the text. It's not just to read the text and to read it, to understand it, and that was done. No, it's not. These principles are in all of our minds and all of our hearts, and we should expand our hearts and thoughts and minds so that we can encompass the entire universe, that we can really understand the principles. And that was really important. So what I did was I talked about a story first, and then I talk about how Master teaches us how to read these stories and how to read the sutras. And that means that we don't just read by the words, we actually read it by the meaning. And each stories that we get, can we actually understand the meaning? Or do we only understand the story itself, the face of the story? Or do we understand in depth? Do we understand the story at its skin deep level? Or do we actually understand the story at its core? So this is what I'm trying to tell, because I went back to the herbal medicine, the parables of the medicine chapter 5. And it talks about that the entire earth and the rain comes down. But it depends on whether you have the the capacities, the capabilities, whether you have the great capacity, the medium capacity, or the lesser capacity. And the rain comes down is the same. The rain comes down, it's not prejudice on anything. Whether you want to learn more, less, or whatnot, it's up to you. But the rain that comes down is without any prejudice, without any differences. So the rain comes down, it's only up to how much you want to take, how much you want to learn. And that was talking about the greater vehicle, the lesser vehicles. And that's what it was talking about. So I'm using this to tie back to the story about the Amazon rainforest. It's not just about holding the water, but it's about how much that you are willing to hold. So I try to tie this together as the current event that's happening in the world that Master talks about. Then I tied it together with the Dharma that we have learned before, which was the parables of the herbal medicine, chapter 5. And I really think that there's a inspiration there in that the rainforest, yes, it's taking in the water, but we also have to remember back to the stories that we got from the herbal medicine. So the second part that I want to talk about is that the world is really going into the end of the Dharma period. So this is on the 11th of September. Morning talk, Dharma Master talked about that there was this Sri Lanka, there was this this celebrating. So this is what Master said. In Sri Lanka, there was a temple, and they kept a Buddha relic. It was actually a tooth of Buddha. Now, every year at this time, there's a huge celebration, and they will use elephants, okay? And people will stand on the back of the elephant, and all the people all around, they will be, celebrating and jumping in joy and rejoicing, right? And at this time, the elephant all of a sudden was scared, was shocked, and lost control. And in fact, ran around, rampaging around and hurting tens of people. And so that's what the story was about. And so and then on the same day, Master also talked about that the Lotus Sutra was just beginning, and just when it was about to begin, 5,000 left because they do not care and they do not wish to learn more. So Buddha had already gone into had already passed on for 2,500 years. Yet this celebration of the Buddha's relic in Sri Lanka every year, it wastes many people's efforts and also resources just to do this celebration. We're really sorry to hear about the accident, but that's truly the ignorance of the people, and it also affected the elephant, causing people getting injured. And I really want to bring this up because it really shows that, Master talks, tying this together with what Master talked about. The story from the Sri Lanka tells us that we, the human being, actually have the capacity to influence negatively on the animals. Yes, they're just elephants. Yet what we do, because of our ignorance, because of our afflictions, that we have these celebrations, for no reason whatsoever, and only to celebrate the Buddha's relic. Yet we're not celebrating the Dharma of the Buddha's teaching. That was telling you that the Dharma period is no longer in the righteous Dharma period. It's no longer in the semblance Dharma period. It's now at the end Dharma period where all the Dharma is decaying. And so this is a very, very big contrast where Master talks about when the Lotus Sutra was about to begin, 5,000 people left, and they continue to decay after that. And what you see in Sri Lanka is exactly that. It's that people have lost the meaning. It's almost like they are just celebrating because they want to celebrate, because they don't really know what else is there to do. So this is the ignorance of the afflictions of the people that actually caused the entire ecosystem around to have problems, and it also caused the Dharma slowly decaying. So once again, coming back to the 11th, and this is, we talked about Amazon rainforest fire. So I bring it up again with the stories. So the Amazon rainforest fire, is still continuing to burn. And this is not just the lung that is hurting, but it's also inside the rainforest. There are a lot of plants and animals, and these plants and animals are going to be affected, are going to be burned. At the same time, inside there are very, very precious herbal medicine that's also inside the rainforest, and that is in every rainforest. There's hidden the very, very necessity for human beings, because they can be made into medicine. Okay, so once again, Master talks about the fire didn't just burn and destroy a great part of the forest, but it also affected many, many living beings, creatures inside. Furthermore, there are these plants that can be made into medicine, and these are the treasure. So we don't know how much will be destroyed. We must be very pious. We must be very sincere. How can we able to preserve these most important, precious treasure of our earth? So this part was once again going deeper. See, Master sees the burning of the forest and sees not just the burning of the trees, but sees that the trees has the power, has the function of holding the water. Furthermore, there are animals in there, not just plants. Furthermore, we are destroying their ecosystem. And then there are precious herbal medicines that's inside that we don't know yet. They are hidden there, but we don't know. And yet they are very necessary. You know, all these things are, you can almost draw parallel to what Master has been telling us in terms of the Dharma, right? So for example, the burning of the forest could be seen as when our anger comes up, right? So Master always talks about fire as representing the fire as representing the anger, right? Water representing the greed. So the fire, when it comes up, when it burns, it not only burns your virtue. That's what everybody says, right? You know, a moment's anger burns away hundreds years of virtues. That's like the forest. So it's similar to that. But do we understand it's not just the virtue that are burned? There are so much more hidden. There's so much more behind it. Don't just look at it in skin deep. You know, this is what this sentence said, and it must be it. But how do you look deeper into this? How do you connect to the stories? And how do you make sure that this is related to you and this is an important story? So the third part, I go into the Four Noble Truths, the 12 cyclic relations, and then this is what I went into. So on the 12th, this is what a story talks about. And I don't know if you are familiar with this, but this was a story that was mentioned by Master many times before. And this one, on the 12th, she repeated it again. And this was about an ill child, an ill child with a brain tumor in China. So I've seen this story before years ago. So I'm not so sure if it's still 6 years old, but well, obviously it's not 6 years old because the child was dead. Okay, so there was this family. I don't know if you remember the story, but Master went through a long time explaining the story. So on the 12th, Master said that there was this child in China, that this child was 6 years old and was diagnosed with brain tumor. And so the whole family, the child's mother and the father worked very, very hard, you know, took on many jobs just so that they could afford the medical bills. And they took on many jobs, they took on many different things just so that they have enough money to make enough money for the medical bills and for the livelihood of the family. So the child was mostly taken care of by the grandparents. And but it wasn't getting any better. The medical bill was only piling up, and the parents' burden was only getting more and more and more. Now, all of a sudden, you know, there was one day the child woke up and asked the grandma for a mirror, and the grandma had no idea why. So she rushed out, trying to find a mirror and asking for many people for a mirror, and couldn't find any. So she ran around to many places, to the market, and finally found the mirror and paid 50 cents for the mirror. She came back gave the mirror to the child, and the child looked at himself in the mirror, smiling. Oh, so this is how I look like, and eventually passed away. So what was the thing, right? Nobody really understand what the thing was about. So the grandma, after the child passed away, was all very sad. The entire family was very sad because they worked so hard trying to keep this child alive, but eventually it was still a losing cause. So, so one day, the grandma had a dream, and this was a dream when there was a donkey. The donkey was towing a cart, and essentially, the donkey said that all the things that you owe me, you have repaid, except for this 50 cents, last 50 cents that you have owed me. And because you haven't okay, so because you haven't paid off, that's why I continue to stay in your life. But now that you have given me the mirror, then I'm done with this, and there's nothing between you and I, and we're done. So this is a story. And what does this story tell us? This story tells us that when in reality, that Master tells us that whatever you owe, once you're done repaying, that it will be done. But even if you owe just a little bit, the affinity between all will still be around. Okay. So so everybody was distraught with the passing on of the child, and but what can be done? There's nothing that can be done. And so the grandma shared this dream, and that's when the parents were saying, "Oh, so I worked so hard. We worked so hard. Was just all part of the repayment, and the only thing that was left was this 50 cents, and once that was repaid, it was done. You know, he was done, and that's why he left. So Master said on the 12 that we as practitioners, that what we owe isn't just to one person. Even if we repay one person, that there are many people that are still asking us for debt. So we need to repay. But at the same time, whatever problems and difficulties that you face, we have to continue going forward. And whatever we need to give, whatever we need to do, we will do. Whatever we need to give, we will give. Whatever we need to endure, we will endure. And what this is saying is going back to the 20th chapter right now, which is talking about the never sliding bodhisattva. It's talking about that this bodhisattva is saying that whatever you do to me is whatever I need to endure. And whatever I do to you is I'm piling up and I'm planting that seed. So this story is slowly paving the road for explaining the behavior of the never sliding bodhisattva, and explaining what we see, that what we need to do is irregardless of what other people do to us. What they do to us is what we owe or what we have of them. What we need to do for them is our way of planting the seeds that we can help them in the future. So on the 12th, there's another story, and there's the Indonesian forest fire. So the brother from Awan from Indonesia came back, explained to Master that because Master was really worried. And if you're from Malaysia, you probably know that all these soot or all these air pollution, a lot of it actually came from Indonesia, the burning. So this wasn't actually natural fire. It was probably a lot of it was man-made by small-scale farmers, where they just burned the mountain to start over again, right? So Awan Sishong, what he said was that for some time the president had already gone with the national emergency, and so the military, the police, and the fire emergencies, they're all doing their jobs to make sure that there is no fire. So what did they do was, wherever there's no fire yet, they need to take care of it. So then they will chop, they will break, they will have these burn zones, and then they will chop off all the trees around, so that it will let it burn, and then the part where there was no fire, it would just be safe. So that's called 断火路, is stop. You stop the trail of the fire. So Master said that we need to safeguard our thoughts and safeguard our mind, and that's very important. The most important is we should not have this fire, and wherever the fire rages, we need to segregate, we need to separate it. So where there's no fire, make sure it doesn't start. Where there is fire, make sure that we put it out. And this goes in line with the Four Noble Truths and the 12 cyclic relations. And the reason is this, that for Four Noble Truths, it teaches us to get rid of the suffering. Okay, it teaches us to get rid of the suffering. And but at the same time, the 12 cyclic, it tells you, the 12 cyclic relations, it tells you that in order for you to not start, you need to stop at the source, which is ignorance, which is affliction. So these are the two parts that go side and side with this story. The way that Indonesian government treats this fire, wherever there's no fire, guard it. Wherever there's fire, put it out. So Four Noble Truths talks about the people already understanding and seeing the suffering. They see it firsthand, right? The five disciples, the very first 5 disciples, Buddha had to start with suffering, the first principle, suffering, so that they understand, and it's really close to them. That's why they understand. And then it goes into how we can resolve it. So it's about when the fire is already there, the suffering is already there, the karmic relations, the retributions are already here. How do you get rid of it? When there is no fire, the Buddha tells you how you can stop it from happening. And that's the 12 cyclic karmic cycles, to tell you that everything starts from the source, which is affliction. And it tells you that if you're on the 6th or the 7th cyclic, then you need to go back and see where it came from. So it tells you the cycle, and that's a way of telling you that you need to understand. So I equate this Indonesian fire with these two. One is it's already happening, it's already right in front of you. What do you do about it? The other one is making sure that you don't start another fire. Okay, so all these are talking about same thing, right? So the story about the Chinese child, right, dying, right? So what you endure, that's the Four Noble Truths. You already know that this suffering is coming, so you endure it. You knew that you planted the seed, and that's why you're just reaping the results, the retribution. But at the same time, what you do is about stopping more karma, or starting good karma. And that's the 12 cyclic. So one is to stop what you already did and what you're already getting. The other one is starting anew, because you know the whole thing was a cycle. The whole thing was a cyclic. That's why you know where to stop and where to begin. And you need to plant the good seeds. So that's what I equate all these stories together with these two parts, which was what Master was talking about those couple of days. So on the 12th, Master says, this is part of the Dharma morning talk. So the Buddha was seeking out the disciples that are the lesser vehicle. So to these people, Buddha spoke of the Four Noble Truths, because that was to corresponding to the capacities. Okay, so the Four Noble Truths matches the capacity, so it fits. So Master says they stops at Four Noble Truths, no longer going forward, trying to understand more, because they think that this is the Dharma they need to find, and this is it. Okay, so remember back to the Phantom City, right? The chapter on the Phantom City. These are the people that realize that this is what they want. This Phantom City, it has everything they want. They do not want to go on anymore. So even though the Four Noble Truths was just the first step, or the first resting stop, they stop there. They are not going to continue. They don't want to learn more, because they thought that was what it was, and that was it. And Master said that they stopped there because they thought That's all they want, and that's all they need. Yet, the whole point is, and I think this part was really important, it's not just about that they're not moving on. Okay, so don't just think about, oh, these people are bad, not moving on. No, from the other perspective, the Buddha made this phantom city, and that teaches them the Four Noble Truths. The most important part is because it matches their capacities, and naturally they will be inspired. So this is what Master was talking about, that you need to teach them according to their capacity, so then they will be inspired, because ultimately the most important part is for them to be inspired. When they're inspired, they will be ready and willing to move on to the next part, moving out of this comfort zone, moving out of this phantom city to moving on to the next part, only when they're inspired. If they are not inspired, then they will just stay here thinking that this is really all they want. So how can you inspire them? You already attracted them here. Now you gain their trust. Now you gain their belief. How would you push them forward to the next step? And that's the whole key. So the Buddha did this according to the skillful means, according to the different capacity, to allow the humankind to be inspired. And I think this is very important. And then I follow up with a story explaining how we would be able to reflect. How do we know what is the right capacity? How do we know what is the right teaching? So on the 14th, because on the 13th of September, it was the Mid-Autumn Festival. So on the 14th, the Master talks about the moon. Master says the moon in the sky was sometimes covered up by the cloud. We have a moon inside our heart too, and it should always be clean, always be clear. So our purity, our Buddha nature is just like this moon inside. If we are working hard, if we practice, and if we seek out ways, then we'll be able to find the most pure nature that we have. So what does it look like? It's actually very simple. It's round, it's clean, and it's pure. It's the great, round, clean, clear mirror, just like the moon. Okay, so that was just a story, a quick analogy of what this Buddha nature is really is. It's a mirror. And what this mirror is was able to tell us, lead us to know to know how the capacity of everyone is. That's why I really believe Master knows how to put us at a place where we are comfort, the phantom city where we find our comfort zone. And then when we are there long enough, she will get us inspired to move on to the next part. It's almost like Malaysia. When Malaysia was talking about, let us make a vow for a million, right? 1 million members, right? So Master says, okay, come. That's going to be your comfort zone. I'm going to encourage you. I'm going to inspire you. And when you're further inspired, you're going to move on to the next one. So it's the same idea that you had to match the capacities. You couldn't do the same with the US, right? But you could do that. You could do that with Malaysia. So Master, with the very clear mirror that's big and round, was able to reflect and see that this is what matches your capacity. And then this is what's going to inspire you. So on the 14th, I extend the analogy of the moon and the mirror to say that the story where the VP Cheng and also Dr. Mesa from I think it was Paraguay, that Master talks about them passing and says that everyone everyone goes through life and death, but she felt that VP Cheng never really aged. Every day, every year, seeing him was always very young and full of energy to taking care of the school, taking care of the job, taking care of the entire foundation. So Master didn't think that he was old at all. And I was equating that to think that that was the mirror talking, the mirror that shines onto each person. The reflection isn't on the surface, it's not skin deep. Your mirror that's inside you, that's the reflection of your wisdom, when it looks out, it's not looking at the face, the skin that looks old, or the face that looks old, but it looks at your energy. It looks at your person as a whole, not just the body, but your spirit, your mental, your body. So the whole thing. So then I go on to the 15th, which is another story about the doctor from South Africa. So there was a story from Tamy, and Master talked about it on the 15th morning talk, that this doctor heard the calling, wanted to go to Mozambique for the Tamy, for free clinic. And at first he thought that maybe he couldn't do much. He just wanted to donate the plane ticket money. But somebody encouraged them to say that you should go to feel, because everybody feels different. You should really feel how it feels to see suffering, to really be among the people. And then he shared that when he saw all the kids smiling, and even though they have gone through so much suffering, they had nothing, yet they are still so happily smiling. And so he was very touched. And then so Master continued on and said, this is what we need to do. You can donate the money, is good, but you need to also put in your time and effort, put it in action. That will make you even joyous. And this doctor, Dr. Wen, feels that how much money can you actually buy these smiles? You can't. From the children, you will not be able to see their smiles unless you go there on your own. And so once you're there, you know that the plane ticket for the trip was very much worthy. It was very much valuable because you get to see these smiles, because these are invaluable. It's priceless. So coming back to share, now he's very willing. It's not just about making money, donating money. Now it has to donate the time and effort. So what I brought this story up was, once the capacity matches, they are inspired, right? At first, he was only happy about just donating money. But towards the end, once the capacity matches, this person the capacity isn't just enough to just donate money. You need to get this person in and see the children. And right away, it matches and it inspires. So now he goes home, he's sharing, he's getting more people to do this, and then he's doing it himself. So this is very important, because Master says the path, you need to walk, so the path will come out from there. If you didn't walk, the path is not going to grow out on its own. It takes people to walk on it to create a path. And then you would know that this is a flat or a safe path. And then you would know, you'll be in contact with the Bodhisattva. And then this is exactly what Master talked about. That's the true Dharma joy once you are there. So then I go into the sutra content that it talks about. It talks about the how all the Buddhas are the same. So we talk about the Wei Yin Wang Fo was telling the same Dharma for all the people, because we're talking about the Four Noble Truths, the 12 cyclic karmas, and also the 6 paramitas, and all of that is the same teaching. So okay, so then talks about that Wei Yin Wang Fo, even though the world was a very peaceful world, it's still just teaching the same way. And it goes into our Sakyamuni Buddha. Also, it's a different world, completely different, right? Wei Yin Wang Fo was a much safe and peaceful world. Our world is a forbearance world. It's very different, but they teach using the same, because this is the same Dharma, even though skillful means, but it still approaches everybody differently. Okay. And lastly, I talk about, if you remember, in the 3rd chapter, Shariputra, when Shariputra was predicted to be the future Buddha, this is what Buddha said, that your Pure Land is going to be a lot of abundance of resource, abundance of people, of heavenly beings, that they are all going to enjoy long lives and very good lives. And then saying the same thing, that even though the world that you have is going to be a world of pureness, but you are still going to talk about the 3 vehicles. So we see Wei Wang Fo, in the past, in the past, in the past. We see our Buddha, that's our Buddha of this age. And then we see the future Buddha, the Shariputra. Regardless of the world that they're born into, they all use the same Dharma. So even though we as ordinary beings, we could be a small tree or a small plant. We look up the sky and we see, why do you give us different teachings? But to these Buddhas of the past, the present, and the future, they rain down all the same. And it's the same thing. For you, you think that we're just giving you the lesser vehicle, but in fact, it's all the same. So it's still the same, the 3 vehicles, but it's really only one. But to us, it looks like it's the 3 vehicles. So what I'm trying to say is that everybody, every Buddha, they go through the same thing. And I found that to be very rewarding. I found it to be really exactly what Master was doing. So that's my sharing. I'm sorry I wasn't prepared to do this, but that was what I got from the past week. So I always try to put the stories and the Dharma and the Sutra together, try to find something that I know. So this is what last night when we had this other study group, that we talk about contemplation, we talk about samadhi. And I think it's everything that we see around us, we're able to equate it to something that we have heard before, that we have learned before. And that was really important, to put it on the same level so that we are connected to the Buddha, to the Buddha Dharma. Not just, oh, now is the time to study group, so let me put this hat on and study the Buddha Dharma. Now it's a time for work, so I take that off and I don't worry about that. No, it's trying to put connection. Okay, so thank you for listening, and I apologize I wasn't prepared for this, but I hope that there's something in us that will always be able to share, and that's the wisdom, and share with each other. And please do feedback if you have anything. Thank you.
感恩 Brother Joe, really very grateful to Brother Joe. He's truly a really great, compassionate Dharma master. Sorry, very last minute. I just called Brother Joe if he can help us out here. So sorry for the sharing on Brother Baru. We will arrange another Saturday. I must apologize. Okay, this is there's some miscommunication here. Okay, we are grateful to Brother Joe for sharing this. We heard earlier on Master said share her Monday joys each time hearing Brother Joe and Sister Jing Yuan sharing. So now we are very grateful to have opportunity to hear what Master is sharing on Monday.感恩 Brother Joe. Okay, we have Sister Tamy to share with us online on Dharma Master Tzu Chi episode 10. She shared yesterday evening and it was truly wonderful. So we are very grateful, and we seize this opportunity to invite Sister Tamy to be on board to share. Sister Tamy, over to you.感恩.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Sister switching the slide. Okay, so I'm very grateful for the opportunity to share on this the drama series of the Great Dharma Master Tzu Chi, episode 10. Sister switching, next slide. And next, okay. So in my sharing, this episode 10, it has spread. I split it into 3 scenes. The first scene, the sister switching the earliest slide. Okay. Okay, the first scene at the Mount Dasu. There are 3 points here. When Master Hui Si told Master Tzu Chi, saying that like a plant that creates fruits and seed, new plant can grow. I pass on what I know. Meaning here is the pass on the Lotus Sutra teaching to Master Tzu Chi. And it is also like rainwater nourishing the soil. New seed can sprout and grow. Here meanings like every one of us is like a seed. When we sprout and grow like a tree, we can, from a tree, we can create more seed. And as seed sprout and new plant grow, the entire field will full of beauty. What I can think of is like every one of us like a Tzu Chi volunteer. When each of us has been certified as a volunteer, is the time for us to grow and then inspire and then recruit more living bodhisattva. So more and more people join Tzu Chi, and we will have like an entire field full of beauty, which is more and more people will do good things together to help to relieve the suffering. Next slide, Sister Tzu Chi. So from that 3 points, I can think of this Sutra of infinite meanings. One arises to infinity. Infinity arises from one. Okay, from this sentence, it is actually the same meaning. So, meaning is, in Tzu Chi, of course, we know that our Master Cheng is the first seed to establish this Tzu Chi, and more people acknowledge her good, true heart to benefit the sentient beings. That's why more and more people will join Tzu Chi. So, in fact, each of us is actually like one seed. When we aspire and inspire our love to benefit more people, we are able to get more people to join us. So hope is boundless. It begins with one seed. And where is this seed hidden? It is actually in everyone's heart. And because of this one seed, so Tzu Chi up to now 53 years, Tzu Chi footprint of great love has spread to around, it's actually more than, it's around 100 nations worldwide. So with this seed and with the mission of the work for Buddhism and for all living beings, we can see the beauty of Tzu Chi now. Okay, and the subsequent key points for the scene 1 is, it is through practice that people reach enlightenment. And after people reach enlightenment, they have to work even harder to practice it to benefit the living beings. And Master Tzu Chi possesses extraordinary wisdom. Here, it reminded us of like our Master Cheng. She is like a very ordinary people, but her wisdom is really extraordinary, beyond our imagination. And with cultivation, Master Tzu Chi, power and concentration will grow. So next slide. So from these 3 points, Sister Tzu Chi, next slide. Next slide, please. From that 3 points, it reflects that we understand, to me, Master Cheng already enlightened. She enlightened during her cultivation in the small wooden hut located behind the Kuming Temple, Hualien. Because that time, Venerable Master Yin Sun gave Master Cheng 6 words, that is work for Buddhism and benefit the living being. So at that point of time, she's still thinking, how can she, as a monastic practitioner, to spread this Buddhism to more people, to acknowledge it, and then the people can accept and follow the teaching. So at that point of time, Master Cheng stayed in this wooden hut, and she keep on doing the same thing, which is reciting and studying the Lotus Sutra. And at that point of time, she got enlightened. And when she got enlightened, she had to put more effort and extra hard work to establish this path, because she had to put the sutra into a path as a road for all people to walk. So that's where we have this Tzu Chi in Hualien, established in May 1966, with the support of her monastic disciple and 30 local housewives, with this zero fund of money, because our master believed that she herself is to believing self to be selfless and believing to others to have love. In order to believe ourselves to be selfless, right? We must have very deep faith with our own self, that everybody have an innate Buddha nature, and believing others to have love. We must have a very broad-hearted to believe everyone in this world, we can inspire their love to join us to walk this living bodhisattva path. And after the Tzu Chi Foundation has been set up, Master also make a great vow to to establish this hospital, founded in August 17, 1986. And at that point of time, Master Cheng removed the deposit system in the hospital. And thereafter, the government, the Ministry of Health also abolished the deposit system nationwide. Okay, next slide. Okay, again, another subsequent 3 key points in the scene 1. This 3 speech was from this Master Tzu Chi. Master Tzu Chi said, "In face of all difficulties, I shall not waver. I will seize my entire life to widely spread the Dharma, guide and cultivate the future generation. And our tradition can be passed on to light up people's heart." And these 3 points here, we reflect on our Master Cheng 3 daily prayers. And these 3 prayers is very, very great. I personally think of the first Master pray for not having a healthy body, not like our normal people. We normally pray for our own self to have a healthy body, but she's not. She prayed for a clear and clarity mind, because she understands that human body, over the years, we will get old and we will fall sick. So this prayer is very, very good. The second prayer is she pray for not everything go her way, but to have a perseverance and courage. Because we understand that in this Sahara world, every one of us face a lot of challenges. We may not have out of 10 things right. Maybe out of 10 got 9 against our way, against our wishes. So we really wish to have more courage and perseverance to encounter all these challenges in our life. And the third prayer is pray not for lighter as responsibility, but for a greater strength. Because when Master already have the aspiration to relieve the suffering of all the sentient beings, definitely more and more people will come in and ask for help. So there is no way for to have a lighter responsibility. Okay, next slide. And it reflects that no one in the world that I don't trust, no one in the world that I don't forgive, and no one in the world that I don't love. And Master Cheng have these 3 drones in the world is because that in the sutra she read that, in the Lotus Sutra, she read there's one word saying that everybody in this world, they have the Buddha nature. And everybody in this world, they may have the chance to attain the Buddhahood. So with these 3 drones, we will remind us never underestimate everyone, because everyone have the chance to attain Buddhahood. Okay, next slide. Okay, come to the scene 2, which is departing to Jingling. After 8 years of guidance from Master Tzu Chi to Master Hui Si, so in the year of 567th century, at the age of 30 years old, Master Tzu Chi led 27 disciples to Jingling. Jingling is the capital of city of the Cheng dynasty. The purpose is to spread the Lotus Sutra in that city. Okay, next slide. Before departing to Jingling, Master Hui Si give the last 2 reminders to Master Tzu Chi. The first one is do not use the Dharma to gain favor from others. Okay. The second one is do not be the last bearer of the Dharma. Next slide. The first one key point is the true essence of the Lotus Sutra must be properly protected. This rare treasure is not a child game to be taken lightly. So imagine we can see this Lotus Sutra is very, very rare treasure. So we must be properly protected it. And those with small spiritual capacity cannot have faith in this Lotus Sutra teaching. And only those with sincerity and capacity can receive the treasure of this Lotus Sutra. So next slide. It reflects that Master Cheng already understand the essence of the Lotus Sutra, and then she's established this Tzu Chi with 4 missions and 8 footprints, basically to properly protect it so that this mission will not be wavered. Next slide. Okay. Okay, the next reflection of the first reminder is Lotus Sutra is very subtle, profound, and wondrous. Certain phenomena are beyond words that we can explain it, but we can only feel and experience it through our sincerity and also our reverent heart by respecting to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So in the year of 1952, Master Cheng, at her age of 15, her mother suffered from an acute gastric perforation, which was a very potentially life-threatening procedure. And at that point of time, she prayed for the Kuan Yin Bodhisattva, and she sincerely vowed to be vegetarian, not to use the eating mouth to kill the animals. And she also vowed to reduce 12 years lifespan for exchange of her mother recovery. And eventually, we know that her mother really recovered without any surgery performed. So next slide. Okay, the second part of the last reminder is do not be the last bearer of the Dharma. So although in the era of very great chaos and the world is full of evil, at that point of time, it's already full of evil. Even up to now, in our modern era now, we also can feel quite a lot of chaos, and also world is full of evil. And they are also teachers with false belief. So we must never forget to deliver the living beings. Meaning to say we cannot give up in delivering the living being even though the world is full of evil. And we have to pass on the Dharma generation to generation, up to the 50th generation. Master Cheng did mention before in the Lotus Sutra, we have to pass on our Lotus Sutra to up to the 50th generation. And in fact, this Lotus Sutra is very good for all of us, including our next generation. And all living beings share the same nature as the Buddha. Their opportunity for liberation is wondrous and often unknown. Okay, next slide. So through that few points, we can think of this reflection of this our Tzu Chi 6 parameter, which is also called 6 perfection, from giving first, second precept, third diligence, and samadhi. I remember very clearly Master Cheng did mention before, when we keep on practicing giving, precepts, diligence, and samadhi, these first 4 of the perfection, and ultimately it's the giving, precept, the endurance, and diligence, these 4, and ultimately we will achieve the stage of samadhi. The meaning of samadhi here, according to Brother Joe, he told us that samadhi is something that we know, we are, at that point of time, I know this true principle. And when we know, our wisdom will arrive. Just for example, before I was a free thinker last time. I didn't understand why people need to adopt vegetarian. So in my young age, that time my uncle whole family is a vegetarian. So at that point of time, in my heart, I never tell anyone. In my heart, I say that, oh, what a waste! The meat and the fish, all this is so delicious. Why my uncle whole family don't have a chance to taste it? So when I joined Tzu Chi and I understand that everyone effort to be vegetarian, actually we can help to curb the climate change. So this samadhi is something that we must know why we be vegetarian, and eventually our wisdom will arrive. Okay, next slide. And for us to pass on the Dharma from one generation to another generation, we must have these 4 great vows. The 4 great vows of Buddhahood and Bodhisattva. The first one is living beings are incalculable, vow to deliver them all with sincerity. The second is affliction are infinite, vow to eliminate them all with integrity. The third one, the Dharma though are immunerable, vow to master them all with faith. And the last one, Buddhahood is very supreme, we vow to attain it with honesty and steadfast. The next slide. I have to go through fast because now you're already 8 o'clock. Okay, here is the 4 embracing virtue. Deeply move all beings and gain their acceptance. The first two is external cultivation, charitable offerings like a home visit and also maybe like a home visit to the refugee. The beneficial conduct is like a stroke and cancer support group in Malaysia, where the cancer and patient people, they can come to join us. And the third and fourth one is the more on internal cultivation, loving words and cooperative deeds. So this cooperative deed in the NGO, if we can very sincerely and be very harmony when we work together in one NGO, then this is the beauty of the NGO, and it can inspire more people to join us. Okay, next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, there are three types of people. Maybe I skip this part. The next slide. Sister Tzu Chi. Next slide. Due to the time constraint, I will skip that part. Come to the scene 3, arrival at Jingling. So Jingling is a Cheng dynasty. It is so vibrant and lively, and it's a very happening place full of abundance and prosperity compared to the Mount Dasu. Next slide. So people fight over each other in pursuit of fame and riches. It's like entering a cave full of dangerous beasts. A large tree usually has some dead branches. Buddha and heavenly being come to this world to tame evil. Next slide. Okay, with that 3 points, it reflects that as the purpose of spiritual practice is to train our mind, and the Dharma that the Buddha taught us is all about training the mind, and the mind creates everything. So every one of us, we will have this poison in our mind, that is ignorance, greed, anger, delusion, and affliction. So when we learn Dharma, when we can tame our mind, and this few poison will be away, it can be eliminated. Okay, next slide. Okay, our master actually wished for every one of us to have a very deep-rooted affinity with her. So in the conference of South African local volunteer leadership in year 2013, the South African volunteer vowed to be Master Cheng eye, ears, hand, and feet to walk on the land of those who are suffering, to spread the seed of love, to bring Dharma into the dark corners, to cultivate a pure mind, to start cycle of goodness, and recruit more people to serve volunteers in walking this Bodhisattva. So we can see here the South African volunteer, they are poor, but they are able to help the poor as well. So this is a very deep-rooted affinity with Master Cheng. And thank you for listening. Kangen for the opportunity.
Sister Tamy, over to Hualien.感恩.
Hi, good morning. Is it everyone can hear? Okay, thank you because Sister Tamy for her sharing. And actually, although she is sharing about the Master Tzu Chi, as we know that we always say that the Buddha Dharma, we are in the decay Dharma, 末法. But Master did say, if we keep passing on the true Dharma and the true principles in the surrounding area, actually the place that we are doing a good deed and we are having a good people who gather together and do the good thing. This is at that moment, this is the true right Dharma still exists. 只要有好人好事在做的地方，正法还在。So seems like now we are in this Zoom for this conference study stage 舞台。So I think this is what we are still passing on and still carry on the true Dharma on this stage. 就是这个平台，我们还是一直在有正法在。So whereas we have to cherish the Dharma very urgently because recently due to Master she have a the throat shot and she can't speed up but we must be cherished that every day, even though from the dark eye that we can listen to the morning lecture from the dark eye TV. So let us continue to study Master's teaching, and let us try not to let the true Dharma to diminish in the future, especially for the new future generation. Let us work together and keep invite more people to listen, as well as more people keep attending to listen to the Dharma, and I believe that everyone will get inspired, and they will take action and to go on the Bodhisattva path. So this is my feedback, and today we have 4 people in the board. Yeah. So thank you. And today is 21st of September, and this is a very important day for 20 years ago. This is a very history that Master keep remind us never forget that year because of the earthquake, very tremendous earthquake hit Taiwan, the central part of Taiwan. So let us not forget the disasters. The 4 elements of the nature is imbalanced. So let us try to clean our heart so that we will eliminate our 5 stupidities in our mind, so that we can have a clean environment. Okay, thank you.